Aloha, what is up, movie lovers? Today I am giving you my review of Karate Kid Legends and pretty much why it was a slap in my face. Now, just so you know, I'm coming to you from a place of love for the Karate Kid franchise. I grew up with the Karate Kid. I have seen Karate Kid 1, 2, 3, the next Karate Kid, the Karate Kid remake, reboot, which obviously was all part of the same universe. And as bad as some of the movies are, they kind of have that cult flavor to them, which over time you really come to appreciate, even like Karate Kid 3. And I have to say, when they came out with their final plan for Cobra Kai, how they were going to wrap that up, and then they said they were going to come out with this final movie, Karate Kid Legends, man, was I stoked. I was absolutely elated to see how they were going to wrap up this Cobra Kai and Karate Kid franchise, which I'm thinking this isn't going to be the end of the franchise. It doesn't really set up for anything in the future, but I'm going to keep this as spoiler free as I can. But I'm going to let you know why I feel like this was the weakest Karate Kid movie in the entire franchise, why it let me down. It kind of broke my heart. And I'm going to let you know a couple of the good things about the movie as well. But unfortunately, I cannot give this any sort of fiery, amazing review, which I was hoping to do. But let me just jump right in. All right, I'm going to keep this as spoiler free as possible. Anything I go over is going to be sort of given away in the trailers for this movie. So I don't want to spoil it for anyone. This movie is short. It's coming in a little over an hour and a half, which is fine with me. There are some movies that feel like they should definitely be shorter. This is a movie where I feel like it should have been longer, and I'm going to get into a reason why. But first, let me talk about some of the good things in the movie. Ben Wong, who plays the new Karate Kid character, he did a fabulous job as the new Karate Kid. He's a very likable character, and the actress that played his girlfriend in the movie, I don't know that actress's name, she did a pretty good job as well. They each bring their own emotional background and flavor to their roles, and you could tell they really took their roles seriously. I was very impressed with his athleticism, his level of kung fu that he brings to the movie, and some of the kung fu action sequences were pretty amazing. But that also gets into why I think the movie is very unbelievable, and I can't really believe a lot of what's going on in this flick. All right, so here we go. A little bit about the plot. We basically start off with the exact same plot from Karate Kid 1 from back in the 80s with Ralph Macchio, and basically the remake, reboot Karate Kid with Jackie Chan. Except in this one, we have our main character. He is coming from Beijing and going to New York, whereas Jaden Smith's character in the first one was going from the US over to Beijing. Now, I will let you know right away. One of the big letdowns in this movie is that there is not even a reference to Jaden Smith's character in this movie. He doesn't show up anywhere, and he isn't even referenced by Jackie Chan in this movie anywhere. Master, I believe, Master Wan, Sensei Wan, Han. I'm sorry, I think it's Han. He wasn't even referring to Jaden Smith's character, which as a fan of that movie, I feel like that's a slap in the face because here we go. We built this universe, and this kid was originally from New York, so he wouldn't even pop up or be at Master Han's academy. So we see early on the Master Han has an academy, and he's training these new students, and one of his students is this Li Feng character. And early on, it's let the audience know that he is not supposed to be fighting. It seems like every time you have a good fighter, they always have a parent or someone or guardian that doesn't want them fighting. It's kind of getting old at this point and really doesn't make a lot of sense. You can tell that there's something that's happened in the past from this mom. There's no dad in the picture. That's never even touched on. And there's this whole reason why he's not supposed to be fighting. We learn that later on in the movie. I won't really touch on that. It's really kind of weak. And that's what the character is fighting with, our main protagonist is fighting with, is what was in his past, which is, again, really kind of weak in my humble opinion. So anyway, they get transplanted to New York. We get a quick little sequence of them going to New York, and let's dive right into the story because then right away he meets his basically future girlfriend, which we can tell from the trailers, right? And so if you're following along, we basically have the same exact plot as Karate Kid 1 and the Karate Kid remake. Okay. These kids are replanted to a whole new city. So, anyway, this kid is pretty much like a kung fu master. All right, Master Han has already said that like he's one of his favorite students. He means like so much to him. He has a very personal relationship with this student. And early on, we have this ex-boyfriend, Connor Day, who is the big bad guy of this movie. I'm going to say right now, he is not an enjoyable character. He's probably the weakest villain in any Karate Kid movie. His sensei is absolutely the weakest sensei in any Karate Kid movie. We don't even see the sensei fight or train or do anything, but supposedly he runs the biggest badass karate dojo in all of New York. But yet, this guy, and he's also dabbling with like shylocking and loan sharking, and yet he's like a karate dojo badass kind of guy. But we never see this guy fight, and really, it's not built up that where we want to hate this guy that much. Now, if we get back to the main villain, this ex-boyfriend, really again kind of weak why he starts to pick on our protagonist. We get the exposition that he is this big Karate Kid guy who's won the 5 boroughs tournaments, which I have again a problem with that as well. They built up this big 5 boroughs fighting tournament, which is really kind of ridiculous. We'll touch on that a little bit later in the review. But anyway, things unfold, and basically we have the same exact premise as Karate Kid 1. It's like they took that script and then they said, all right, we're going to do this movie again. It's almost sort of like a reboot, but then we're going to add in Joshua Jackson and his character in this pizza shop, and we're going to do like a little bit of a U-turn, add a little something else in there. But what they're doing is they're, sidetracking on this so they don't make exactly Karate Kid 1. And then it just becomes kind of ridiculous where we get in this training sequence with Joshua Jackson's ex boxer character. For a good portion of the movie, he is now the Kung Fu Kid, and we might as well call him Kung Fu Kid. And he's doing like this boxing training and stuff like that to pay off his debts to this big bad karate dojo guy. And that sets up the whole plot of the movie. And the first part of the movie, I would say the first half of the movie is paced fairly well. Now, what's glaringly missing are Karate Kids Legends. The whole title of this movie is Karate Kids Legends. The problem is you have Ralph Macchio, who's going to star in this movie. You have Jackie Chan, who's going to star in this movie. And you've built this entire network of Cobra Kai talent. You've built an entire universe, this entire Cobra Kai Miyagi-Do universe of very popular characters that you could have brought back, that you brought back in the Cobra Kai show, yet everyone is missing. So you call this movie Karate Kids Legends. Unfortunately, the movie is lacking any legends from the Karate Kid universe. We briefly see Jackie Chan in the beginning of the movie. Same with Daniel LaRusso. We see him extremely, very, very briefly in the beginning of the movie, and that's basically just a flashback. Then we see him sparsely throughout in just like little telephone calls and things. So Jackie Chan doesn't even really show up to New York City to start furthering the plot of this and starting the Kung Fu training or reestablishing the Kung Fu training until at least halfway through the movie. The movie was very rushed. The pacing after the first third of the movie was insane. So Jackie Chan shows up and it's already like over halfway through the movie. Still no sign of Daniel LaRusso at this point. Unfortunately, Daniel doesn't even show up till about the last 20 minutes of this movie. When he shows up, then it really goes off the rails. We get Daniel LaRusso showing up to finish the 2 branches of one tree, which is basically Kung Fu and Karate. And then you get this really lame montage of training. Now, I will say that like the main actor, the Li Fong, our protagonist, is an amazing Kung Fu artist. It's almost a joke when they start trying to teach him karate, and they almost even make fun of it because you have a very stiff Daniel LaRusso, who we all know really isn't a karate master by any means, trying to teach karate to this basically super black belt Kung Fu kid. We're going to say it like that. And it's almost like a joke because Jackie Chan's even saying like, why are you being so lame kind of even making fun of Daniel Russo. They even make a point of saying that the kung fu branch of the tree is much stronger than the karate branch of the tree. We don't really see much of the karate training or why they even say he needs to learn karate to beat this big bad villain, who I must say, like, again, he is the worst villain. We don't even really see him fighting too much. The only fighting we really see this kid do is like in a dojo where he's just like, he's all brute muscle power strength. They refer to him as a lion, and he's just like hitting the bags really hard. But the main thing with this is like the kid just, I think there was 3 instances in the movie where he basically just sucker punches people, like, for no reason. Just totally like, "Oh, we're gonna build up how bad he is because he's sucker punching people." Well, that doesn't make me believe he's a great fighter. It just means, like, he's a guy who will sucker punch somebody, and he's a despicable human being. There is one scene where there's, like, a brief fight scene between the 2 earlier on in the movie where he does show his, like, martial arts skills to a certain extent, but it's kind of a joke and cut very short, and yeah, it just doesn't set up the rest of the movie very well. So anyway, we get back to problem with the movie is that it's Karate Kid Legends, but yet we have no legends. We have no one from the Cobra Kai universe. It's the biggest slap in the face is that you invested yourself, or at least myself, I did, into the entire Karate Kid Cobra Kai show, several seasons, many hours of episodes, which I thought were very enjoyable. I really liked the Cobra Kai show. And it's a disservice to those actors who were in that show, which aren't even mentioned. They are not only do they not show up in the movie, not a single cameo. And you could have gotten any one of those kids, like Mary Mouser or, any one of the kids that were in that show would have gladly probably shown up in New York City to help train this new Kung Fu kid. But yet, not only are they not in it, they're not even mentioned. Slap in the face. I guess they wanted to basically make this movie appeal to those that hadn't seen Cobra Kai, but unfortunately, you just alienated all the people that did. And that's sort of ridiculous, especially when you came out and said that, hey, this Karate Kid Legend show is going to be the penultimate like finale of this Karate Kid universe. We don't even see Johnny Lawrence in the movie. All the villains that helped out, or we'll call them villains, they're basically friends now. I guess that's a little bit of a spoiler for the Cobra Kai series. They don't show up in this movie. Again, my biggest problem, it's called Karate Kid Legends, but it was lacking Karate Kid Legends. Maybe it's just me, but if you're going to call something Karate Kid Legends, it should have just been called Kung Fu Kid 2. And the first one should have been called Kung Fu Kid. The Jackie Chan character has transformed significantly from the first Kung Fu Kid. I'm going to just call it Kung Fu Kid to erase all confusion. His character is almost completely different. In this movie, it's almost a joke. Like his Kung Fu, he just tries to be silly for goofy laughs that don't really hit. His relationship with Daniel LaRusso, they try to make it heartwarming, but at the same time, it just falls flat. They don't really have Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio don't have much on-screen chemistry whatsoever. And again, that whole final training sequence leading up to the tournament was fairly pathetic and completely rushed. At no point in the movie did I think like, "Oh my gosh, uh, you know, Lee is going to have a horrible time fighting this kid and all's doomed." No, this kid was like kung fu badass, doing like the most insane things before he even started his tournament training. And it was pretty obvious that he could pretty much beat up anyone he wanted to in this movie. I mean, at one point in the movie, he takes down like 3 grown thugs and with ease. But yet we're believing that he can't beat up this own kid that's his own age. That's, I mean, like maybe slightly more muscular and, has him by a couple pounds. Yeah, not very believable. And then finally, the final tournament was the weakest, most rushed, and ridiculous final tournament, lacked any sort of emotion. You didn't really see any of the fights. It was such a quick montage that they only had to have, I believe, 4 fights, and most of them you don't even see. It's just like a quick little thing with a scorecard saying like, "Oh, he won. Connor won." Of course, they're going to meet in the finals. It's sort of ridiculous. It's almost like an underground tournament. They're fighting literally in like under streets and subways and things. but yet it's this $50,000 tournament, which is sort of ridiculous. They're not really going to give kids $50,000 for a karate tournament. I don't care if you're in New York or whatever. And it's like you get all these like vagrant people. It almost reminded me, if you've ever seen the movie Lionheart, where in the early parts of the movie, Jean-Claude Van Damme is fighting, these street fights. It was sort of like that. It was like these five boroughs tournaments, but it was street fights around New York City. Didn't make much sense. But yet, the final fight, it was kind of cool. They had it up on the rooftop. There was some cool shots. That fight, again, was really kind of weak, but it looked good, I guess. That's the best thing I could say for it. And again, it was so rushed. It was very disappointing because of how rushed it was. It could have slowed itself, taken its time, progressed the story and the characters a little bit more, and it was just extremely predictable. And it was just a huge, huge letdown for me, especially given the fact that I am such a fan of the Karate Kid franchise. They don't really set up for anything new. I mean, there is a post-credit sequence, if you want to call it that. There's like a card that comes up after the main fight is over, which again, it just ends extremely abruptly. And then there's this after credits shot that's pretty much right away that was probably the best scene in the entire movie. I don't want to give that away, but it doesn't really set up anything. It's almost more like a joke. And you can tell that it was probably filmed during the final filming of Cobra Kai, if I'm being honest. It may not have been. That's just my guess. And you can read up on that if you want to, but I'm going to keep this spoiler free. But that was probably the most enjoyable scene in the movie. I was extremely let down. Again, this is a very forgettable Karate Kid movie for me. Now, the sad part is kids who don't have a background with the Karate Kid franchise, they will probably enjoy this movie because it was so fast paced and kids these days just don't have great attention spans and the movie was so short. They will probably enjoy it. Unfortunately for me, it fell flat. It was way too rushed. Not a whole lot of chemistry. The best thing I could say about this movie was that the new Karate Kid, he brought a lot of emotion to his character. He was fun to watch. I just felt like the story kind of gave him the shaft a little bit. That's all I can say. I feel like they did a disservice to the fans of the Cobra Kai show. They did a disservice to the cast of the Cobra Kai show. And in some way, they needed to bring back other players from the Karate Kid universe, Karate Kid 1, 2, and 3. I was hoping like Hilary Swank would show up. All along, I was hoping Hilary Swank would show up in either Cobra Kai or this Legends show or the Legends movie. Sadly, nope, didn't get it. Just big letdown. I hope maybe they do another movie. If they did another Karate Kid movie and then they wanted to call Legends and really bring in all of the supporting characters from this wonderful universe that they've built, I would be all for it. Even include this new Kung Fu Kid, I'd be stoked. Sadly, right now, I am disappointed, really let down by the Cobra Kai Karate Kid universe. Heartbroken. So maybe I'll see it one more time if the kids want to watch it when it comes out on streaming. I would say if you're going to go to the movies anytime soon, go see Mission Impossible, or I would even say Lilo and Stitch. Lilo and Stitch, which I didn't even think was going to be that good, was twice as good as this movie. Ooh, that's brutal. All right. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy Karate Kids. Maybe it's just me. Let me know what you think in the comments. I see all these people raving about it on like Facebook and stuff, and I'm like, I don't get it. For me, just missed the mark. And I'm usually pretty easy going with movies. Like I usually like movies, but this one missed the mark. Sorry, folks. Well, I'm gonna wrap this up, go get myself a nice cup of coffee and enjoy my weekend. Take it easy, everyone. Aloha.